Hello, everybody, and welcome to That Wrestling Show, the podcast where all pro wrestling matters. I am your host, Bill Yankovi. I wish I could say that this week's going to be a fun episode. I mean, it's still going to be a fun episode, but doing this with a lot of heavy heart, because we all found out yesterday the passing of Pat Patterson at the age of 79, and because of this, the review that I was going to do this week, Smack 'em Whack 'em, is going to be pushed back a couple of weeks. It's still going to happen, but I figured a review kind of wouldn't be appropriate to do here this week after the sad news of the loss of Pat Patterson, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. Also going to preview here this week NXT Takeover War Games as the match Beyond returns again for another year, and we'll talk about the teams that are involved in War Games and some of the other matches that, as of this recording, will take place this coming Sunday. And also going to talk about the big night in AEW with the debut that nobody really saw coming, and the ending that nobody saw coming. But I do want to take some time to talk about Pat Patterson, who passed away yesterday at the age of 79 years old. To say that Pat Patterson had an influence on the business is a bit of an understatement. Pat Patterson had one of the best minds for the business. He was a storyteller in and out of the ring, and was an amazing talent. If you've never watched any of his footage, anywhere really, it doesn't matter if it's WWF, AWA, San Francisco, wherever. Pat Patterson was an amazing talent, and Pat had one of the things that makes wrestling great. One of the things that makes wrestling so great is that in wrestling, if you can achieve it, you can achieve anything. You can achieve the American dream. And I'm not talking about Dusty Rhodes, even though he was the American dream. Bruno Sammartino achieved the American dream, coming from Abruzzi, Italy. Pat Patterson achieved the American dream, coming from Montreal, spoke no English whatsoever. No English when he came into Boston, and just worked his way through and became a name synonymous with the wrestling industry. The things that he did are almost second to none, to say the least. The accomplishments, the achievements that he has. First ever Intercontinental Champion. Yes, we all have the running joke of the tournament in Rio de Janeiro, which I think I still have the videotape of the tournament in Rio, for those that want to, have some fun with that. Was the referee for the main event of the very first WrestleMania. Because, they had advertised Muhammad Ali to be the referee, and Muhammad Ali was the referee, but he was the outside referee. Pat Patterson was the referee inside the ring for the main event of WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, and then 10 years later, Patterson was the referee for the main event of WrestleMania 11, which was Bam Bam Bigelow and Lawrence Taylor. I think if you're going to look at Pat Patterson, you're going to have two different sides of looking at what the legacy of Pat Patterson is. And what I mean by that is the legacy he had in the ring and the legacy he had out of the ring. The legacy he had in the ring is he was one of the best heels that you could have and ended up being a very good babyface. He was a part of one of the best tag teams of all time with Ray Stevens. San Francisco was the big territory. That was their place. They also, were a tag team in the AWA for a few years. Patterson, no matter where he went everywhere. He started in Montreal, went to Boston, went to the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, that territory. San Francisco was really the big breakout for him, and he just became a huge star, and, he was just off to the races. Wrestled in the Florida territory, wrestled for New Japan, wrestled in Quebec for the Lutte Internationale promotion, and of course, his run in the WWF, where he, like I said, became the first Intercontinental Champion, and then ended up basically staying in the company for almost the duration of his career. Pat Patterson had so many incredible feuds and battles, one of which I think, if you haven't seen it, I really recommend going out of your way to see it, is Pat Patterson against Sergeant Slaughter, the boot camp match. That match, if you have never seen that match, is an insanely good wrestling match. I mean, let me take that back. It's not a wrestling match. It's a fight. It is a straight up fight. And the way, if you watch that match, the storytelling of that is so incredible. Because Sergeant Slaughter's in his gear. Patterson comes out with a pair of jeans. He's got a ball cap on. He's got a white shirt. He's got, boots on. And they just go at it. They beat the crap out of each other. And then Sergeant Slaughter starts to bleed. And, Patterson just smells the blood. And, he goes in for the kill. And, the Grand Wizard ends up having to throw the towel in an insanely good match. I mean, it's absolutely insane how good that match is. And it ended up being voted the 1981 Observer Newsletter Match of the Year by the fans, which shows you how good of a match that is. And then he also had a feud with Bob Backlund, which culminated, in a steel cage match, which is I'm going to say it's an underrated steel cage match. I've seen this cage match. with Pat Patterson and Bob Backlund. That match is such a good cage match because you don't think at times that Backlund's going to actually win. Pat Patterson was such a believable challenger to Bob Backlund that, it's like, hey, Patterson could win the title here. He could beat this guy. And he almost did. I recommend, if you haven't seen that match, I really recommend you watch Pat Patterson and Bob Backlund in the steel cage. A very, very good title match. Then he had the match where he loses the Intercontinental title to Ken Patera is a very good match too. The way the way it ends is so good because Patterson, he gets his foot on the rope, the referee doesn't see it, and Patterson's pleading his case, and when the referee gives Patera the belt, you could hear some of the fans, some, not all, some of the fans cheering for Patera, and the fans, the majority of them are booing because Patera beat Pat Patterson for the Intercontinental title, but that match is such a good match to watch. Just a good babyface heel match. And then he became a commentator during the 1980s. If I had to pick the 3 most famous matches that Patterson ever commentated on, they were all going to be in the Garden, obviously. It would be Snuka Morocco, the cage match. It would be Bob Backlund and Iron Sheik. And Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan. Those 3 would be the 3 that I would say are the most famous matches that Pat Patterson ever did commentary on. Because he did commentary till, I want to say, 84 or 85. And then once he was done doing commentary there, he ended up starting to work, backstage and became an agent and really was Vince's right-hand man. Let's be perfectly honest. Pat Patterson was Vince McMahon's right-hand man. And Pat Patterson gave us one of the greatest gifts that we as wrestling fans could have ever gotten. And that is the Royal Rumble match. And to those that don't know the story, Vince McMahon wanted to do a special in January to compete with Jim Crockett's Bunkhouse Stampede show that was going to go on in January of '88. And Pat had tried the Royal Rumble in another town a few months prior, and it really didn't go over. And I'm telling you this story because it's on the Royal Rumble documentary, if you've never seen it. So Pat Patterson is in this meeting with Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol, and Vince is like, Pat, why don't you tell Dick about your stupid match idea? And, he talks about it and how, with a battle royal, everybody starts in the ring and then, everyone has to go out. Well, why don't we do where we start with 2 in the ring and then every so often another person comes in? And, at the time, you have to think about this. It was called Rumble Royal. If you watch some of the promos, like Primetime Wrestling, maybe, Challenge or Superstars, they're not calling it the Royal Rumble. They're calling it the Rumble Royal. But it eventually got changed, thankfully, to the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble has become a significant part of pop culture. And think about the wrestling community, how every January we have something to look forward to. We have something to look forward to every January for WWE being the Royal Rumble. And the one thing I will always say about the Royal Rumble is no matter how good or how bad WWE is at various times, everybody looks forward to the Royal Rumble because it's the one match where 30 people are going to compete in a match to try to win, the main event match of WrestleMania. So, we have Pat Patterson to thank for that. And then the Iron Man match is another one, because he had thought about it. He never really suggested it. He had thought about it. And he said that, he watched that match and he cried over how good it was with Brett and Shawn. And, with Pat Patterson, and I know there's a lot that has been said about him, what he may have done, what he may not have done, we'll never really know for certain. But in the business, Pat Patterson is one of the great minds that we've ever had. I would say he and Dusty would be 1A, 1B. You could reverse either one, saying, oh, that guy's number one, this guy's number one. You'd have a very good argument. And then, my God, just the people that Pat Patterson helped. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had a Rock. We wouldn't have had Dwayne Johnson become the Rock. There's just so many people that he helped influence in the business. And that's something that's going to really be missed. And Pat Patterson, just a big influence creatively for what he's done. Of course, he came out several years ago on Legends House, as gay, and it got media coverage for a while. And this is Pat Patterson. This is the life that he led, and he is going to truly be missed. He's one of those minds that I think a lot of people would have liked to have picked. That's just something that, you're never going to get again. You're never going to have another Dusty Rhodes. You're never going to have another Randy Savage. You're never going to have another Pat Patterson in this world. And we should just be very thankful that, we had Pat Patterson in wrestling as a mind and as a talent, an amazing talent, and one of the great minds of the business. And I mean, think about it. If he did not create the Royal Rumble, myself and Jim Boy Star would not have done Eliminated, a Royal Rumble podcast. We would have never done it had there been no Royal Rumble. So the wrestling world, it's a little bit dark today without him, but I do want to go over his in-ring accomplishments, because there are a lot of them. Co-holder of the AWA Tag Team titles with Ray Stevens, 5-time United States Heavyweight Champion in San Francisco, 11-time co-holder of the World Tag Team titles in San Francisco. And I'm going to read off all the partners. Twice with Ray Stevens, Superstar Billy Graham, Pedro Morales, Pepper Gomez, Peter Maivia, Moondog Mayne, 3 times with Rocky Johnson, and Tony Gurria. Was a co-holder of the Florida Tag Team titles with Ivan Koloff, Florida Television Champion, 5-time co-holder of the Canadian International Tag Team titles, twice with Raymond Rougeau, 3 times with Pierre Lefebvre, who was also known as Mad Dog Pierre. Held the North American Tag Team titles with Johnny Powers. That's the LA Japan version. Held the America's Heavyweight title. Held the Brass Knuckles title in Amarillo and their version of the North American title. 3-time Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion. 2-time co-holder of the Pacific Northwest Tag Team titles with Tony Bourne and the Hangman. Co-holder of the IWA World Tag Team titles with Art Nelson. First Intercontinental Champion. Also held the WWF North American Heavyweight title. Held the Hardcore title. And his last championship in the business was last year, winning the 24/7 title. And actually, he became the oldest champion in the history of WWE, winning the championship at 78 years old. So I don't think, unless Vince McMahon decides in like 5 years to go back into the ring and compete for the WWE title, I don't think Pat Patterson's reign will ever be broken there. Hall of Fames and other awards. Charter member of the Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame in 1996. WWF Hall of Fame class of 1996. A member of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2006 as a member of the Blonde Bombers with Ray Stevens. Was the recipient of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Stanley Weston Award in 2004. And in 2008, received the Art Abrams Lifetime Achievement Award from the Cauliflower Alley Club. Pat Patterson passed away again this week at the age of 79 years old. While we are in news discussion, we had a career that unfortunately came to an end this week. Jimmy Rave, who wrestled in Ring of Honor and TNA, his career came to an end after he had to have his left arm amputated due to an infection, and it was above the elbow. He was only 37 years old. That is a scary thought. Honestly, I thought he was younger, but 37 years old. Oh my gosh. I know for people like me, he wrestled in Ring of Honor for a while. He was a part of the Embassy, and he had feuds with CM Punk, AJ Styles, Davey Richards, to name a few. And he was such an underrated talent. He was a good heel, and part of the reason why he was a good heel was because he had like this smug look on his face, and you just wanted to hate the guy, and you just wanted to go after him. Also wrestled in TNA. He was part of the Rock and Rave. What was it? The Rock and Rave Infection or Connection or. Yeah, Rock and Rave Infection. Okay. And, he was on national TV for a while, and, over the last few years, he kind of faded away, as far as the national scene goes. He was still wrestling, but, he just he wasn't, prominently figured in the big picture of it all. It's very sad to hear that, his career has had to end because he lost his arm because of an infection. There is a GoFundMe campaign right now, and as of this recording, they have raised almost $7,500, and this is to help pay for the medical bills. They're looking for $20,000 to be the goal. So if you can, GoFundMe.com, the name of it is Help Jimmy Rave, and he was a very underrated talent that I don't think really got the recognition that he deserved. And who knows what his career could have been like. He could have been a Ring of Honor champion. He could have been a world champion in Ring of Honor. We'll never know. But Jimmy Rave losing his left arm due to infection, his career is unfortunately come to an end. NXT was this past Wednesday night, and it was a very big show. It was a really big show. Let's talk about the two big events that came from that. The first one that I want to talk about is the debut of Sting. And I have to say, they nailed that debut perfectly, because I don't think anyone knew he was coming. I guess it was just a thought in our mind that, hey, he's no longer under WWE contract. Maybe Sting will go to AEW. And, and then it was like, well, Sting merchandise is off WWE shop, and, who owns the name Sting, which Steve Borden actually owns the name, so he could use it wherever he went. The way he was introduced, I thought was perfectly done. Because you had this whole winter is coming thing, and I know for me, I had no idea, I had no thought in my mind, oh, someone's going to debut on Dynamite, or someone's going to return on Dynamite. That was the last thing on my mind. The last thing on my mind. And then you see this video package. And I have to admit, and I know some of you are going to laugh at this, which I'm totally fine with. I kind of thought it was Glacier that was going to come, and I'm like, oh, what a waste of, no offense to Glacier at all, but it's like, really? You're going to bring Glacier to AEW? And then when you see it Sting, it's like, oh my god. And then the way Tony just blurts out, it's Sting! And it's like, you're all going crazy. Like, you don't lie to yourself. You were going crazy too if you watched it. It was just phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing. And then I think the best part of it was, here's the best part, if you did not see it. He goes to Arn Anderson, who's looking at him. And Arn's like, what the hell? Then he goes to Dustin Rhodes. Then he goes to Cody. Then he goes to Darby Allin. And Darby stands up. And it's like, okay, we might have something here. And then that's it. That's the end of it. Sting does not come back on TV for the rest of the night. He does not do anything else. It's just very well done. And then like within 24 hours, it's like Sting's shirt is the most sold shirt ever on Pro Wrestling Tees. So, you have all that. Now, the question that I have been asked, and I've been asked by a few people, is Sting going to wrestle? That's the big question. And the answer to that is I don't know. I don't know. He hasn't had a match in 5 years. The last match he had was against Seth Rollins, which unfortunately ended Sting's career. I don't know if Sting's going to be used to do like 1 match, 2 matches, 3 matches, or what I would like to see them do is maybe have Sting in a managerial position. I mean, we've never thought of Sting as a manager. And I would think he's going to work backstage and is going to give very good advice to all the young wrestlers that want to learn. I really do. So what is Sting going to do? That is the $1 million question. And we will probably find out next week on Dynamite, or maybe start to get clues as to what Sting is going to do. And I'm honestly looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. Then the other big event that happened on Dynamite this week was Kenny Omega winning the AEW title. And more so what happened after the match. Because, and I'm going to be honest, I was going back and forth on my TV. Not between AEW and NXT, but between AEW and The Masked Singer. Yes, there was a 2-hour Masked Singer, which I'll talk about in a little bit, because I know you guys are dying for me to talk about The Masked Singer. But Moxley and Omega have a really good match. Really good. And you get to the ending where Omega is, like, he got sent through, like, some stage prop. And Don Callis, who was there on commentary for the match, goes out to check on Omega because they have a really close connection. And it's like, do you stop this match? You want to stop this match? It's a pretty big freaking match to stop. And then Omega hits Moxley with the microphone, busts Moxley open, gets the one-winged angel. 1, 2, 3, Omega is the AEW champion. And I'm sure there are some people that are like, oh, finally, he won the title. And then what makes this better is as soon as Omega is given the belt, he and Don Callis leave. Like, they are leaving. And Alex Marvez catches up with them in the parking lot and is like, what was that for? What did you do? Why did you do that? And then Callis is like, we'll explain everything on Tuesday. And Marvez is like, Dynamite's on Wednesday. To which Callis is like, no, we're going to explain it on Tuesday on Impact on Access TV. And then you're like, the jaw just dropped. It's like, holy crap. Now you have to watch Impact to see what's going to happen next with the AEW World Champion. And it's like, oh my God, the stars are aligning in this cosmic universe of professional wrestling that we only dreamed about. It's like these dream scenarios of what if this promotion and this promotion work together, and now you are like, AEW is with Impact? It's like, and I know for years, and I want to be serious about this. I know for years that Impact has been the punching bag joke of wrestling, which for a long time it deserved to be. It deserved to be because of the actions that they did. But over the last year and a half, whatever they have been doing, they have changed it completely to where it is a very believable product, and it's a product that you want to watch week in and week out. I will defend to the death that Slammiversary 2020 was one of the best wrestling shows of the entire year. That was how great Slammiversary was. And I think that show was the momentum maker that Impact needed to get, fans' attention. And they've just been very good week in and week out. And now you have this big ending where it's like, oh, we're going to explain what we did, but we're not going to do it on Dynamite. We're going to do it on Impact next week. And it's like, oh my God, now I got to watch Impact. And then there are some people that are like, well, I don't get Impact. I don't get Access TV. And now, there are wrestling fans that probably from the day after the title change and the ending of the episode to probably all the way to Tuesday night are going to be finding some way to find something that carries Access TV. So what I'm going to do for you guys is we're gonna go on a little field trip real quick, and we're gonna find what streaming, or at least the two big ones, might carry Access TV. So we're gonna try Sling first, and Sling does carry Access TV. So if you wanted to go to Sling, you could go to Sling TV or Sling.com, to get their service. And I believe, well, right now they have a sale on, Sling Orange and Sling Blue. Oh, well, okay, I'm not really sure about that. Okay, so we know Sling carries Access TV. Let's check out YouTube TV. That's the other one. That's the other biggie. Does YouTube TV carry Access TV? So we're going to go to the channels. Yeah, I'll use that. And I'm still looking. It does not look... Well, I guess it depends on where you are. But where I live, Access TV is not on YouTube TV. So, if you want to watch Impact this coming Tuesday night, you need to get Access TV, sign up on Sling, and that is how you will get to watch Impact this week, just to see what they do with Kenny Omega for AEW Dynamite. And then the other thing, which is kind of funny, is like, oh my God, all these dream matches, and I'm like, okay, yes, we're gonna get these dream matches. I would like to see, personally, there's one that I am surprised I didn't see. I want to see Nyla Rose and Jordynne Grace have a match. How fun would that match be? Oh my goodness. I'm sure we'll come up with other dream matches between Impact and AEW over the next several weeks, either in our heads or put it on social media, but we'll wait and see what happens. Well, I did mention The Masked Singer earlier, and I may as well talk about it because we are very close to the end of Season 4 of The Masked Singer. This week was a 2-hour episode, and this was a biggie because they were going to unveil 3 of the 6 in the Super 6. So that means that we only have 3 left, obviously. So, to give you guys a bit of the cliff notes, all 6 came together. They did a version of Take On Me by Aha. I guess it was okay. I don't know. It's just, after you hear the acoustic version, it's like no other version of Take On Me by Aha works except the acoustic version. We had a guest panelist, Craig Robinson, who's going to host The Masked Dancer, which is going to start, I want to say December 27th. And no, I have no interest in watching The Masked Dancer, so there will not be any coverage of The Masked Dancer. Okay, so what they did was you had the 2 left in each group. They each performed. The winner would obviously go into the finals. So, the Group B finale was Seahorse and Crocodile. Seahorse, who was my pick to win it, sang That's What I Like by Bruno Mars. Crocodile sang I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, my least favorite Aerosmith song, by the way. And in a shocker, Crocodile beat Seahorse to get to the finale. Very surprised. I thought Seahorse was going to take it, but Seahorse did not. I'll tell you who Seahorse was a little later on. The Group C finale was Mushroom and Jellyfish. Mushroom with an incredible version of Valerie by Amy Winehouse. Jellyfish sang Stay by Rihanna featuring Mickey Echo, and Jellyfish did not stay because Mushroom advanced to the finale. And then the hardest group ever, and probably because either one of these 2 were going to be the winners, Popcorn sang Better Be Good to Me by Tina Turner, and The Sun sang When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish. One of the most amazing performances I have ever seen on The Masked Singer. The Sun advances to the finale. I mean, my God. That performance was just amazing. So, our 3 eliminated were revealed. Popcorn ended up being singer Taylor Dane. Jellyfish ended up being Olympic gold medalist Chloe Kim, snowboarder, for those curious. And the Seahorse, who was my pick to win it, was Tori Kelly. She did a very good job, I thought, but my pick did not go all the way. So, the finale, well, let's set up who's left. It is Sun, Crocodile, and Mushroom competing for the Golden Mask. I'm putting my money on the Sun. She has been the best performer the entire season. I think the Sun is going to win the Golden Mask. Now, the schedule. Next week, you can actually skip next week if you wanted to, because it is a holiday sing-along episode. Okay. So no one's going to get eliminated there because it's a holiday sing-along episode. What is up with everybody doing a holiday sing-along episode? Real quick. Voice did one, I think, last night on NBC. ABC did two within a week, and they were both Disney. Now the Masked Singer is going to have one next week. Boy, I can't wait till Young Sheldon on CBS does a sing-along episode this Christmas. Woohoo! But anyway, the finale is December 16th. The first hour will be the Road to the Finals episode at 8 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock will be the finale, where we will find out who is the winner of Season 4 of The Masked Singer. And at this point, I have no idea who the three are. This has been the best season, because I could not tell you, I couldn't figure out any of them. That's how good this season was. Really, really good job. So, that is the setup for the Season 4 finale coming up in just 2 weeks. Well, from 2 weeks to 2 days, that is how long you have to wait until NXT Takeover War Games happens. Will be this Sunday night, 7 p.m. on the WWE Network. And I think I read that if you sign up for the WWE Network, you can watch this for 99 cents. Wow. Talk about a steal. Okay, gotta go through the card and give you my predictions as to who's gonna win at NXT Takeover War Games. Start off with Tommaso Ciampa against Timothy Thatcher. That should actually be a good match. You got Champa, who's that brawling style. Thatcher's that catch-as-catch-can style. Should be a very entertaining match. I'm going to say... See, here's the thing. Ciampa doesn't need this win. Thatcher does. So I'm going to say Thatcher wins this match, because I think he needs it more than Ciampa does. Dexter Lumis is going to take on Cameron Grimes in a strap match. I really like Cameron Grimes. I just like him a lot, but something tells me Dexter Lumis is going to win this match. So I'm going to say Dexter Lumis gets the win here. The only championship to be defended at this show this Sunday is a triple threat match for the NXT North American title. Leon Ruff defends against Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano. I think Gargano's gonna win it back. He'll be the record setter third time as the NXT North American champion, unless they got something planned with Ruff. I don't really know, but I think Gargano's going to take it. And then we go to the War Games. We're going to have 2 War Games matches happening this Sunday at TakeOver. The ladies are going to go first here. It is Team Shotzi against Team Candice. Shotzi Blackheart, Io Shirai, Ember Moon, and Rhea Ripley will face Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. This is going to be an interesting match, because this is only the second War Games where women are involved. Only the second. And the first one last year was pretty good. Let's see what they can do in the sequel to this. I think Team Shotzi's going to win. Not saying that Team Candice doesn't have a good team. She does have a good team. But I think Team Shotzi's team is a complete package all the way around. And I think Shotzi's going to get the win. That's how I see it going. And then the men's War Game match will be the Undisputed Era against Team McAfee. That is Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch. The Undisputed Era, the only group of people to have been in every War Games since War Games has been brought to NXT. I kind of want to see what Pat McAfee's going to do in this match. I will be perfectly honest. I want to see what he does in this match, because the last time he was in the ring was the match with Adam Cole at, not at the last takeover, but the one before that. And I want to see what he could do. Oh my gosh. I want to see McAfee's team win, but I think Undisputed Era is going to win this one. They will win the War Games. So that is our preview for NXT Takeover War Games. Obviously, there will be a review on our Patreon immediately after the pay-per-view has ended. So, on that note, that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. It didn't feel, you know what, it kind of felt like a quick show this week. I mean, we had big stuff that happened in wrestling, in and out of the ring. So, but yeah, it was a big week for wrestling. Let's get into the plugs. If you guys have any questions or comments, send an email, wrestlingman@thatwrestlingshow.com. And as a matter of fact, well, I checked and I don't have any emails. So if you want to send an email, wrestlingman@thatwrestlingshow.com. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter @WrestlingShow11. Follow us on Instagram @ThatWrestlingShow. Join the Facebook group. It is That Wrestling Show fan group. You type that in the search bar and you are right there. If you can't find it, it's okay. I put the link, in the description of each and every episode. Check out our merchandise at teesprings.com/That Wrestling Show podcast. And if you like what you heard here, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/That Wrestling Show. 3 tiers, $1, $2, and $3. $3 is the highest tier you will go, and it gets you a lot. But both the $2 tier and the $1 tier get you some very good stuff as well. Patreon.com/That Wrestling Show. This week, on another Digital Citizen, Luke and Fro review The Croods, A New Age. Also, how did Zoom become so popular? That's actually a very good question. And they review episode 4 of Moonbase 8. That is this week on another Digital Citizen. Also, check out our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast with Joe Murata and Michael Quinn, as they take you through the world of retro wrestling. They start off their new season with a brand new segment called What Went Wrong? And this week's question, what went wrong with the WWF on TBS? Plus, week 1 of the Royal Rankings of the Best Feuds, and a review of Monday Night Raw from January 2nd, 1995. And also, speaking of Patreon, if you go to their Patreon right now, like if you sign up at the $5 tier, remember, this is the only show that I'm going to plug their Patreon page. You get, right now, their review of Survivor Series 1991. It just came out this week. Check it out. Their review of Survivor Series 91 on their Patreon exclusive page for our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast. Also, check out Greetings from Allentown with Peter Winston. He watches one episode of wrestling and discusses it in his own unique perspective. This week, he celebrates Christmas a little early because he goes back to an episode of All-Star Wrestling from Christmas Eve 1983 with Bob Backlund and the Persian Club Challenge. That is this week on Greetings from Allentown. And check out Juice Pro Wrestling, where this week they take a look at the life and times of Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Plus, they discuss the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones Jr. fight and how you can pre-order the new Handsome Prick album. Check them out on Juice Pro Wrestling. Now, if you're looking for non-wrestling related podcasts, check out the Best Pick Movie Pod with Tom, John, and Jess. They watch each and every Academy Award-winning Best Picture winner in no particular order. And they are coming towards the end. This is episode 75, so they've probably got maybe less than 20 to go. Well, anyway, this week, they discuss the Best Picture winner of 1935, Mutiny on the Bounty. Check that out. That is the Best Pick Movie Pod. Also, check out the Three Stooges Throwback with Gabe Russo as he watches each and every Three Stooges short. This week, he discusses Slippery Silks. That is this week on the Three Stooges Throwback. Also, check out Unspooled with Paul and Amy, where this time around they are looking at effed up families. This week they discuss the 2001 movie The Royal Tenenbaums. I remember that one being star-packed. So check it out on Unspooled. Also check out Last Stop Penn Station with Carrie Silken and Ian Riccaboni as we take a look at the life of Carrie Silken. This week, he discusses JFK conspiracies. Oh, that should be fun. Plus some ROH tidbits. And some New York Post articles featuring Carrie Silken. Very interesting. So check it out. Last Stop Penn Station. Also, check out the Castle Vault, a chronological deep dive of Disney animated films powered by Disney+. Two men watch each and every Walt Disney animated movie that is up on Disney+. This week, they discuss Frozen. Yeah. You think I'm looking forward to watching that movie ever again? Yep, Frozen. Also, check out Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, where it is part 2 of an exclusive interview with drummer John Bermuda Schwartz. Check that out on Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And check out Sharks Pond, a South Park podcast, where I review each and every South Park episode. This week, I reviewed the Season 10 episode, Go God Go. That is this week on Sharks Pond, a South Park podcast. Alright, next week, gonna review NXT Takeover War Games, plus gonna have some other topics to discuss. Just a quick reminder that the review of Smack'em Whack'em will be not next week, but in 2 weeks, as a sort of, you know what, it's my Christmas gift to you, the fans, for being so loyal, and, you know, some of you asking me to review this. So I'm going to stay loyal, and I'm going to give you guys that as a Christmas gift from me to you. And I do want to mention that the season finale of that wrestling show will be up on Christmas Eve, December the 24th. That's going to be a year in review episode because, my God, there are like a bajillion things that happened in 2020. I really don't know how I'm going to put that all into perspective. And I want to say, and this is tentative right now, that the season premiere will be on January 8th, 2021. That's a tentative date for right now. So, gonna end the show the way that begun the show this week with Pat Patterson, who was actually a good singer. Not gonna lie, he did sing a couple of times, and this is one of the times that he did sing on the final episode of Legends House. Hope you guys enjoy it, and come back next week for another episode of That Wrestling Show, the podcast where all pro wrestling matters. And as always, wrestle on.
Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll see it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I live a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all,